C. Lecture number 6. The question based on the Le-Chatelier principle. The reaction given is Cl2 gas plus 3F2 gas combines to give ClF3. We can see that the number of moles of gas on reactant side is 1 plus 3 4, while number of moles of product on the reactant product side is 2. So number of moles of product is 2 and number of moles of reactant is 4, and we can see that delta H for this reaction is negative. Delta H is negative, and we know when delta H is negative means reaction is exothermic. Delta H negative means reaction is exothermic, and exothermic reactions are favors at low temperature. So exothermic reactions are favors at low temperature. Therefore, the question is, which of the following will increase the quantity of ClF3? Increase in quantity of ClF3 when the reaction goes in forward direction. See, if reaction is exothermic and we increase the temperature, when we increase the temperature in case of exothermic reaction, then reaction will shift in backward direction. So it will decrease the concentration of ClF3. So first option is wrong. The next option is adding neon gas at constant pressure. We know neon gas is an inert gas. Neon gas is a inert gas, and addition of inert gas at constant pressure will shift the reaction in the direction in which number of moles of gas are more. See, number of moles of gas on left hand side is 4. Therefore, reaction will shift in backward direction. So, addition of inert gas at constant pressure will also decrease the quantity of ClF3. See the correct option. For correct option, write the Kc for this equation. So, Kc will be concentration of ClF3 square. Concentration of ClF3 square divided by concentration of Cl2 multiplied by concentration of F2Q. Now, when we add F2 on addition of F2 means concentration of F2 increases. So, addition of F2 means concentration of F2 increases. When concentration of F2 increases means QC. Now it will be QC because Kc is only at equilibrium. When one of the concentration is changed, then it will become QC. So when concentration of F2 is increased by adding F2, now QC will decrease. So in this case, QC becomes less than Kc. So basically, to achieve equilibrium, the value of QC has to be increased to make it equal to Kc. So now we are increasing the value of QC, means reaction will shift in the forward direction. So this will increase the quantity of ClF3 at equilibrium. So the correct option is addition of F2. Option D is correct. So now we will discuss our new topic, physical equilibrium. See, physical equilibrium basically involves physical changes. Physical equilibrium basically involves physical changes. Physical changes like state change. When solid changes into liquid, liquid changes into vapor. So when equilibrium is established during these processes is called physical equilibrium. See, the first case we are going to see melting of solid. When solid melts, then solid converts into liquid. So when solid converts into liquid, we call this fusion. So when solid converts into liquid, we call it fusion. And when liquid converts into solid, we call it freezing. And we know, as the condition of equilibrium, the rate of forward reaction is equal to the rate of backward reaction. So in this case, the rate of fusion at equilibrium, the rate of fusion as at equilibrium rate of forward reaction is equal to backward reaction. So in this case, at equilibrium, rate of fusion will be same as the rate of freezing and at melting point of solid. See the next physical equilibrium, boiling of a liquid. So boiling of liquid is basically when a liquid changes into vapors. and vapors changes into liquid. When liquid changes into vapors called evaporation, and when vapor changes into liquid means condensation. As we know, at equilibrium rate of forward reaction is equal to the rate of backward reaction. So at equilibrium rate of evaporation will be same as the rate of condensation, and this is at the boiling point of liquid. See the next we are going to discuss about sublimation. See what is sublimation. Sublimation is basically when a solid changes directly into gas. When solid directly changes into gas, we call it sublimation, and when gas changes into solid, we call it condensation. At equilibrium rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction. So we can say the rate of sublimation equal to the rate of condensation. See, we have seen the melting of solid. Now we will discuss the melting of solid in detail. So the melting of solid, we know in case of melting of solid, solid changes into liquid. So when solid changes into liquid means fusion, and when liquid changes into solid means freezing. And we know at equilibrium the rate of fusion is same as the rate of freezing. And at the melting point of solid, at melting point of solid, there exists equilibrium. So at melting point of solid, there exists equilibrium between solid and liquid. So at melting point of solid, solid and liquid will always exist in equilibrium. Now we will see the effect of pressure on physical equilibrium. See the effect of pressure on physical equilibrium. Effect of pressure on physical equilibrium. See, when we increase the pressure, so on increasing the pressure on a system in physical equilibrium, if a system is in physical equilibrium and we increase the pressure of the system, then the equilibrium will shift. Then the equilibrium will shift towards more density. So the equilibrium will shift towards more density. See, for example, take the example of melting of solid. So melting of solid, the case when solid whose volume increases on melting. Now we are taking the case in which melting of solid, the case in which solids whose volume decreases on melting. Like for example, when Fe solid changes into Fe liquid. As we know, solids have high density than liquids. So solids have high density and liquids have less density as compared to solids. And we increase the pressure. We know when we increase the pressure on a system, when the system is in physical equilibrium, reaction will shift towards more density. So more density in this case, high density in this case on the left side. So on increasing the pressure, reaction will shift in backward direction. So reaction will shift in backward direction. In this case, reaction will shift in backward direction. See the next case. Now we are taking the example for those solids whose volume decreases on melting. Those solids whose volume decreases on melting. For example, when H2O solid changes into liquid. As we know, H2O solid example is ice, and we know density of ice is low, and we know the density of ice is low than density of water. So in this case, ice has less density and water liquid form has more density. As we know, when we increase the pressure in physical equilibrium, reaction will shift towards more density. So density is more on the product side. Density is more in product side. It means the reaction will shift in forward direction. See the next question. The next question is again based on the allotropic change. And allotropic change is also a physical change, because carbon graphite and carbon diamonds are two allotropes when one allotrope changing into another allotrope, it is also a physical change. We know density of diamond is more. Density of diamond is more and density of graphite is less. Effect of decrease in pressure. So when we increase the pressure, reaction. So when we increase pressure, so on increasing pressure, reaction shifts. On increasing pressure, reaction shifts towards. When we increase the pressure, reaction shifts towards the more density side. When we increase pressure, reaction shift towards more density side. So when we decrease pressure, reaction shift towards less density side. And in this case we see less density in case of graphite. So when we decrease the pressure, reaction shift towards less density, means backward direction. When reaction goes in backward direction, means there is more graphite formation. So more graphite will be formed. So option B is correct. See. Next we are going to discuss boiling of a liquid and liquid vapor system. Boiling of a liquid and liquid vapor system. We know when liquid changes into vapor, we called it evaporation. And when vapor changes into liquid, we called it condensation. And we know at equilibrium, the rate of evaporation is same as the rate of condensation. And we know the amount of vapors over the liquid surface will be constant at equilibrium. So at equilibrium, the amount of vapors over the liquid surface becomes constant. Now we will see the vapor pressure. What is vapor pressure? See, vapor pressure is basically the pressure exerted by vapors. So it is the pressure exerted by vapors of a liquid over the surface of a liquid in equilibrium with the liquid is called vapor pressure. So basically it is the pressure exerted by the vapors on the surface of liquid when the liquid and vapor are in equilibrium is called vapor pressure. And we know the vapor pressure of a liquid. So the vapor pressure of a liquid does not depend on size or shape of vessel. So vapor pressure of a liquid does not depend on size or shape of a vessel, and also not depends on the amount of liquid present. So basically vapor pressure of a liquid does not depend on size, shape of vessel and amount of liquid present. Vapor pressure depends on temperature, and when we increase the temperature, then vapor pressure also increases. And vapor pressure depends also on the nature of liquid. So two factors on which vapor pressure depends. One is temperature. When we increase temperature, vapor pressure increases. When we increase temperature, vapor pressure increases. And vapor pressure also depends on the nature of liquid. Nature of liquid means related to intermolecular force of attraction. See the next one. Next point is related to boiling point. See what is boiling point. So boiling point is basically the temperature. Boiling point is basically the temperature at which. So boiling point is the temperature at which the vapor pressure of a liquid. So boiling point is the temperature at which the vapor pressure of a liquid becomes equal to the external pressure, or also we can say atmospheric pressure. So basically boiling point is the temperature at which the vapor pressure of a liquid becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure, also say external pressure. See example. We are heating the liquid, so there is formation of vapors. Now these vapors apply the pressure. These molecules of vapor will apply the pressure on the surface of liquid. This is called vapor pressure when liquid and vapors are in equilibrium. And there is also external pressure from the atmosphere. And we say when boiling point is the temperature. So when the temperature is becomes equal to the boiling point, when this temperature becomes equal to the boiling point, then we can say that, and at this temperature the vapor pressure of the liquid becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure or external pressure. See, if external pressure equal to 1 atm, then we call normal boiling point, while if external pressure will be equal to 1 bar, then we call standard boiling point. And also we know the boiling point of a liquid. The boiling point of a liquid depends on external pressure. So boiling point of a liquid depends on external pressure, and boiling point increases with increase in external pressure. So boiling point increases with increase in external pressure. Therefore boiling point depends on the external pressure. Now we will see the solubility of gases in a liquid. What are the solubility of gases in a liquid? See, solubility of gases in a liquid. As we know, all gases are soluble in water. So all gases are soluble in water depends on pressure and temperature. So all gases are soluble in water depends on pressure and temperature. Basically the solubility of gas in water mainly depends on two factors. One is pressure and second is temperature. When we increase the pressure, then solubility of gas in water will increase. And when we increase the temperature, then solubility of gas in water will decrease. So there is a direct relation of solubility of gas with pressure, and there is an inverse relation of solubility of gas with temperature. See the next part. The next part we are going to discuss is the relation. So basically the next relation is between the change in Gibbs energy. So next relation is between the change in Gibbs energy and equilibrium constant. So the relation is between the Gibbs free energy, we called change in Gibbs energy, standard Gibbs free energy, and equilibrium constant. See, as we know, according to relation, delta G, change in Gibbs energy, is equal to delta G naught, standard change in Gibbs energy, plus RT ln Q, plus RT ln Q, where Q is concentration quotient. So basically Q is concentration quotient. And we know the condition at equilibrium delta G is 0. Please remember one thing, at equilibrium delta G is 0, delta G naught is not equal to 0. So at equilibrium delta G is 0. Now we are putting the condition of equilibrium, and also at equilibrium delta G equal to 0, and we know at equilibrium the concentration quotient, which is QC, becomes equal to the equilibrium constant Kc. Now we can put the equilibrium condition. At equilibrium delta G is equal to 0, equal to delta G naught plus RT ln K. So delta G naught will be equal to RT ln Kc. Now we can change the natural log into log base 10, then multiply with 2.303. So the delta G naught is equal to minus 2.303 RT into log Kc. And we know the equilibrium constant can be both. It can be Kp and it can be Kc. Both is possible. Equilibrium constant can be Kp for pressures and for Kc for aqueous solutions. Also we know, as we have studied in thermodynamics, the change Gibbs energy change, which is delta G. So delta G is basically the change in Gibbs free energy of reaction. So delta G is basically the change in Gibbs free energy of a reaction. We know when the reaction is given and reactants are changing into products, then the delta G of this reaction will be equal to sum of Gibbs energy change of products minus sum of Gibbs energy of formation of reactants. So basically the Gibbs energy change of a reaction is summation of Gibbs energies of products minus summation of Gibbs energies of reactants. And we know when K equilibrium is more than 1. So when K equilibrium is more than 1, means log K equivalent will be positive. So when K equilibrium is more than 1, then log K will be positive. And in the final equation there is minus sign outside, so it will be negative. So delta, when K equilibrium is more than 1, then delta G is negative, then delta G naught is negative. And if delta G naught is negative, means reaction is spontaneous. So when delta G naught is negative, means reaction is spontaneous. So basically K equilibrium is more than 1 condition is a condition of forward reaction, as we have studied. So K equilibrium more than 1 means forward direction, and also delta G naught less than 0 when K equilibrium more than 1 means reaction is spontaneous in forward direction. See the next case. The next case is when K equilibrium is less than 0. When K equilibrium is more than 0, K equilibrium is less than 1. When K equilibrium less than 1 means log K will be negative. Log K is negative, and also there is one negative sign. So negative is positive. Now we can say in this case delta G naught is more than 0. So delta G naught is positive. When delta G naught is more than 0, then reaction is spontaneous but in forward direction. So basically delta G naught is more than 0. We can say reaction is spontaneous in backward direction. Also we can say the reaction is basically non-spontaneous. So basically the reaction is non-spontaneous when delta G naught is more than 0. So delta G naught less than 0, reaction is spontaneous. Delta G naught more than 0, reaction non-spontaneous. And we know delta G naught less than 0 means reaction is spontaneous. K is more than 1 means forward direction. K less than 1 means backward direction. Delta G naught more than 0 means non-spontaneous. See the next question based on delta G. The next question is, when there is hydrolysis of sucrose, two products are formed. One is glucose and one is fructose. And Kc for the reaction. And Kc for the reaction is 2 into 10 power 13 at 27 degrees Celsius. Calculate the delta G for this reaction. Calculate the delta G of the reaction. So we have to find the value of delta G of the reaction. See, we know delta G naught is equal to minus 2.303 RT log Kc. We have the value of Kc, so put the value of Kc and solve. The value of R in terms of Joule is 8.314. Temperature in Kelvin is 300 Kelvin. So the value of delta G naught equal to minus 76400 Joule per mole. So it is minus 76.4 kilojoule per mole. See the next. So the next is calculate the equilibrium constant. So calculate the equilibrium constant for the reaction. And the reaction given is NO gas plus half O2 gas changes into NO2 gas at temperature 350. And given the value of delta G naught of formation of NO2 is 52 kilojoule per mole. And the value of delta G naught of formation of NO is 87 kilojoule per mole. We know delta G naught of reaction. Is the summation of delta G naught of products. So delta G naught of reaction is summation of delta G naught of products minus summation of delta G naught of reaction. In product side, only NO2 is present, and delta G naught of NO2 is 52. So, and 1 mole of NO2 is produced, so 1 into 52 minus. C for reactants. Reactants, two values are given, NO2 and O2. The value of delta G naught for NO is given 87. So it is minus, as 1 mole of NO is there, so minus 1 into 87 plus half. As we know O2 is in standard form because oxygen is present in standard form. So when any element is present in standard form, then its delta G naught formation is equal to 0. So 1 mole of NO, so 1 into Gibbs energy change for NO is 87 plus half mole O2, half into 0. So the delta G naught for this reaction is minus 35, and we have to find the equilibrium constant. We know the relation between delta G naught and equilibrium constant. Now apply. See, delta G naught is equal to minus 2.303 RT into log Kc. The value of delta G naught we have change into joule, so it will be the value of delta G naught we have minus 35 kilojoule change into joule, so minus 35 into 1000 equal to minus 2.303. The value of R is 8.314 and temperature is 350 Kelvin given, and log Kc. Then find the value of log Kc. So value of Kc will be equal to 3.2 into 10 to the power 6. See the next question. The next question is again based on log K. See, we have to find the value of log K for the reaction when A changes into B, and we are given delta H naught of reaction. Delta H naught of reaction at 298 Kelvin equal to minus 54.07, and entropy change, delta S is entropy change at 298 Kelvin is given 10 joule per Kelvin. The value of R is also given, and one simplification is also given. 2.303 multiplied by 8.314 into 298 equal to 5705. See, we have to find the value of log K. We have the value of delta H and delta S, and the relation we know, equilibrium constant, is delta G naught is equal to minus 2.303 into RT log K. For finding the delta G, delta H and delta S is given, which is delta G naught equal to delta H naught minus T delta S naught. Now apply the relation. On applying the relation, we know delta H naught is equal to delta H naught minus T delta S naught. Delta H naught we have, temperature is 298, and delta S naught we also have. Now we are having the value of delta G naught. Now applying the relation, delta G naught equal to minus 2.303 into RT, R is 8.314, temperature is 298 into log of Kc, So the relation is delta G naught is minus 2.303 RT into log Kc. We are having the value of delta G naught, which is this one, equal to minus 2.303 R into T. And calculation for this is given, which is 5705 into log K. So basically the value of log K is equal to 10. See the next question. The next question is, when ammonium hydrogen sulfide, which is NH4HS, decomposes, gives ammonia gas and H2S gas. And also it is given solid ammonium hydrogen sulfide, which is solid NH4HS, is at equilibrium, which is an equilibrium at 20 atmospheric pressure. So total pressure is also given, which is 20 atmosphere and 27 degrees Celsius. So total pressure is given and temperature is given. We have to find the value of delta G naught for this reaction in kilocalorie. As we know, when ammonium hydrogen sulfide dissociates into NH3 and H2S, total pressure is 20. If X moles of ammonia is formed, coefficient is 1. For coefficient 1, X mole of ammonia formed. Coefficient of H2S is also 1, so X mole of H2S will be formed. So mole ratio for NH3 and H2S is 1:1. So when total pressure is 20, means the pressure is equally divided into these two gas. So it will be 10 atm, it also will be 10 atm. Now find the value of Kp. So value of Kp will be partial pressure of NH3 multiplied by partial pressure of H2S, which is 10 into 10 equal to 100. We have to find the value of delta G naught. So the value of delta G naught will be equal to minus 2.303 RT into log of Kp. 2.303 R. As we have to find the value of delta G naught, we have to find the value of delta G naught in kilocalorie. So put the value of R in terms of calorie. The value of R in terms of calorie is 2. 2.303 into R into temperature is 300 into log of Kp, because now we are having the value of Kp. So value of Kp is 100, which is 10 square. On solving, we get delta G naught for this reaction equal to minus 27.634.